And we are here. The Kvetching Draftniks are back with a vengeance, even though there are only two of us, and the other two might join in a little bit. I am Ethan. I'm here with Zach, who is wearing clothes unlike last time. Zach,
It's
tell the good people out there what you have been doing since your last time that we were on the show. And I don't remember, was it an NFL preview? I honestly don't remember.
yeah, gosh. I really don't remember when. I think it was a preview. It's been a long time since we've done this, man. I've just been getting tortured by the Georgia Institute of Torture. So yeah, that's what my life has been as of late. Um, and watching football, of course.
Of course, I'm just tweeting out the link right now.
Good call.
So, yeah, no, I've been busy. I have been writing a lot and researching a lot for stories that I now know I'm not allowed to write about, which actually came up randomly because basically I was writing a story for the classical, and then someone else was like, "You should write a story about this topic that I'm not allowed to talk about on air." And so I started looking into it. And originally it was gonna be some sort of piece about like um, some stuff that's going on in like the NFL in terms of diversity training, and ended up learning way too much about like some old folk tales in the NFL that I did not need to know about. Um, and basically was told if I pursued any further, I would get sued. So I'm not pursuing that story for the time being
Yeah,
until I learn more about until I get more evidence at least.
litigation is never a fun time to say the least.
Never, ever, ever a fun time.
I'm-
So we have a viewer. Hello, only viewer. We will be getting more. I'm not too worried about that. Also, finally, this was for aesthetic Twitter. I got the after Halloween. I got the undercut, so I got the shaved sides right now, the buzz sides. And Scott is here. Scott, hello there. How was your dinner? All right. Well, he's being quiet right now. He's being shy. He'll be back. There he is. There's
Boom.
Scott.
There we go. I don't know why it was being weird.
So yeah, we were just like saying what we've been doing while times were tough and we weren't doing this. We have a lot to talk about because we're halfway through football season for both college and the NFL. For the show, Zach and I were sort of talking about how the Patriots and Dolphins really be like the same level of good this year, which is kind of cool. Um, because I was saying that I do think if the Dolphins play the Broncos at home, I think the Dolphins would win that game at this point. They really have impressed me this year. But we can talk about the pros. We can talk about college, draft. So much to talk about. Scott, I'll throw it to you. What is the number one sort of football story that has jumped out to you thus far this year in pro or college?
I'm gonna say Devin Still thing.
That's surprisingly sensitive of you. I'm impressed by that answer.
That's the one that's really jumped out at me though. Um,
It's
the
been the
fact that
bright
that's
moment.
getting attention when in any other season it probably wouldn't. If you want honesty.
It's been a sorely needed bright moment for the league with all of the other negative things that have happened this year.
Yeah, I mean, and just seeing the kind of support that everybody around the league has given him has been huge.
All
I
right,
agree.
that's nice. Zach, what has been sort of the big story for you this year?
Well, on the opposite spectrum of things, I just have to say it's not really, a subject that I like talking about, but just the way that the NFL handles domestic violence. It's kind of mind-blowing to me. I mean, you look at guys who, just the Ray McDonald the Ray McDonald case is mind-blowing. I mean, the first cops who showed up on the scene for him when his wife called 911 were cops who were on the 49ers payroll. And I mean, it's just kind of, the guy's been able to play throughout the entire investigation, which I think he was just recently cleared, right? But exactly, I don't exactly think that was the right decision that the court made if he was cleared. Yeah, I mean, it's just been really a sad thing to watch, but it shows that, teams just value, I guess, their income and winning more than they do doing the right thing. It's kind of sad, but not surprising.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I think that just like the way that the NFL has shown itself to not just be very proactive in terms of taking care of legal issues of a lot of their players, and college football as well, to be honest, it is very disheartening. And it really does sort of, I know that for me, it does definitely make a difference in terms of how I view the players. I think that some of like the things I've heard Goodell say have just been total bull. Some of the things I've heard ex-players say were saying that we're wired in such a way that we can't help but beat our wives is stupid. Just really, really dumb and really, really unfortunate. So I would say that's definitely been a huge story. I think the other one for me has just been all the teams in the NFL and in college football for that matter. There's so much parity this year. Like I honestly think that on a given NFL Sunday, there are at least 6 to 7 teams that I could say, you know what, this team could totally win the Super Bowl. This team could beat any team in the league on a given day. Um, and in college football too, I mean, there's so much depth. I think that Mississippi State is the best team in the nation, but by a lot, not really, not at all. There are probably at least 4 or 5 teams that could beat Mississippi State by multiple touchdowns if they were to play on any given day. So it's just crazy how much parity there is in both leagues right now. And the talent's also been diffused, and there's so many great prospects that we can talk about as well.
Yes, indeed. I mean, you look around the league, you look at the AFC North, everyone has 5 wins, right? I mean, the AFC East has, the Bills and the Dolphins tied at 5-3. Patriots obviously in the lead. And there are just also a lot of big surprises too. I mean, did anybody think that the NFC West would look remotely what it looks like right now? I mean, it's a lot more fun to see the league in a state of balance as opposed to just a few good teams running train on everyone.
All right, so moving a little bit from NFL to college, I guess. Oh, someone just nearly made an interception for Andy Dalton in the Browns game. But anyway, moving to college. So in this draft class, who would you say right now, junior, senior, whatever? I know, Scott, I believe you only do seniors thus far. Who would you say is the most impressive person you've watched? Any position?
I haven't actually gotten super in depth, but for me,
As anyone, this is all sort of preliminary, so.
well, yeah, this is definitely preliminary, but since I haven't really gotten super in depth with really any of it, um, the most impressive player that I've watched so far is what's his name from Kevin White from
West Virginia.
West Virginia. Just a monster at receiver. Love watching him play. Absolutely love watching him play. He's quick in and out of breaks. He's got great hands. He understands how to run routes properly. I mean, I'm a big fan of watching him play.
All right, Zach.
I'm just gonna have to go with Cedric Abuhi. I mean, this is a guy who I think would be. I mean, he would probably be a Miami Dolphin right now if he had declared last year. And I mean, he's just a complete technician. I haven't seen a lot of him this year, so I don't know how he's playing on the left side, but he would be one of the best right tackles in the NFL, without a doubt in my mind. And he has the athleticism to play on the left side.
Yeah, I think from what I've seen, he's looked better on the right side than the left side. I'm still not totally sold on him. I know that a lot of scouts aren't sold on him either. So he's someone who definitely the process. It'll be interesting to see sort of how he matures. Kevin White, I like him. My comparison to him was Cody Latimer from last year, second round pick to the Broncos. I think that he is really good, but I just think that there are some prospects in this class who, to me, have sort of flashed a little bit more, especially at receiver, where you have Amari Cooper, Devin Funches, and Devontae Parker, all of whom I think are a half step above Kevin White, who's still late first, early second round pick, but I'm not sure that I see the Larry Fitzgerald type that seems to be so prevalent in terms of the hype I'm hearing. Top prospect overall, though, it's a tough question that I pose myself. I have to go with a healthy Leonard Williams from USC because healthy Leonard Williams to me is at his absolute worst, make starting 3-4 end. Um, Absolute worst. I think at his best, he might just be one of the better nose tackles I've seen come out in a long time. So that would be my pick. Do you find it interesting that none of us,
I think at his best, he's Gerald McCoy.
which would be, you know what? I'm fine with that. I would take that.
I mean,
Um,
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying that's a really good thing. I'm just saying that's what I see. I see a monster three technique who could play a little bit of two if he needs to, but basically a
Now,
monster three tech.
the interesting thing, though, is that none of us mentioned a quarterback. This quarterback class, not the best by any stretch of the imagination. Is there anyone in this class that you think is first round pick right now?
It depends on if you're talking about seniors or underclassmen. Because again,
We're talking
Marcus
about all of them. Everybody who
Mariota,
could be.
I'd spend a top five pick on. Jameis Winston, if he didn't have off-field issues, I'd gladly spend a top five pick on. Despite his baseball-y style delivery, he can make every single throw on that field. I think he's a great quarterback on the field, but I've got issues with his off-field. Like if Winston was a model citizen and just a team captain and all that good shit, he'd be my number one quarterback, number one player in the draft, no questions asked. But he'd also have to declare because he's a redshirt sophomore.
I also am going to have to say that I would, have view Winston as a top echelon guy in terms of football ability. But, his off-field certainly does raise questions. But, I mean, between him and Mariota, I think that's it in terms of first-round quarterbacks. I've seen a lot of people saying, like, Connor Cook, Hunley, but I mean, I just don't see it from either one of those guys. They still look like they have a long way to go.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, the names
sorry,
that I
Joe.
think would be like first round quarterbacks eventually are guys like Deshaun Watson out of Clemson. I think he would be an amazing quarterback. Um, Dak Prescott, I think he needs another year. I think he's a junior. Yeah, he's a junior. So, I mean, Dak Prescott could be a fringe first round guy with another year. Um, I like Dylan Thompson out of South Carolina as like a developmental backup. But when it comes to, what's his name? Jared Goff from Cal. That's the guy who I think is going to be the best out of the current college group. He just he makes every throw. It's fun to watch him play. It,
No,
it,
I can see that. I mean, I think I'm sort of in alignment, although I'm not sold on Jameis right now. He does a lot of the things in college that I think he won't be able to get away with at the next level, especially when it comes to. I don't think he generates great velocity on his intermediate passes. Uh, I think he has great sense of sort of like he can throw down the barrel of a gun. He's really good against pressure. He's good in the pocket, and he's mobile enough to sort of make things happen. But the biggest thing with his off field that would make me feel more comfortable with him is if he would just say, I'm going to drop baseball and focus on football. That's like the one thing where I think if he did that, that would help to make me want to take him in the first round more. Because until then, I'm just not sure that he's that dedicated to football. And I think that's fine for a guy like Clowney, who is a defensive end and really can get by in athleticism, because really, when you're a defensive end, what are you doing other than rushing the passer? Especially when you have a talent like his. But with Jameis, when you're a quarterback, you need to be dedicated to the craft. I'm not sure he is, and I think he needs to take a step in good faith to prove that he is. I think Mariota at this point.
How good he could be.
I think Mariota at this point is probably a mid-first round pick to me. He's gotten better this year than last year. I gotta give him credit for that because I wasn't that high on him last year. But he is playing a lot better, making better decisions. He always looks down the field. His footwork has gotten better. His arm strength is pretty good as well. So I've been pretty impressed by him. I had an early second-round grade on him last year, so he's moved up into the mid-first for me. And Connor Cook and Brett Hundley are two guys who I have second-round grades on right now after rewatching. And Cook, the only reason I have that is because the potential is there, but based on the current product, he's probably like a 6th or 7th round pick to me. He makes some of the worst decisions I've ever seen. He doesn't understand how to read a defense. He has an amazing arm, but other than that, he really doesn't do anything for me.
You know who my comparison for him is? Ryan
Um,
Mallett.
Ryan Mallett?
Ryan Mallett coming out.
I think Mallett might have been better, to be honest.
Again, 90%.
I think also with Cook, one of the more underrated players in the country, I think Tony Lippett might be helping him a lot more than people give him credit for, because Tony Lippett's a good wide receiver. I have a 3rd round grade on Lippett, and I think that he'll be a very good number 2 for a team if he gets the chance.
I could agree with that. At worst, he's a slot guy.
He's tall. He's a big guy. If he's in the slot, I would be pretty surprised.
I could
But,
see
I
him
mean,
in a spot like Colston.
and then the other thing is that with Hundley, I think that Brett Hundley's somebody who I've heard the Jason Campbell comparison. I don't necessarily completely disagree with it, but the big thing with him is I'm just not sure the risk makes sense at the end of round 1, which is where he's going to end up getting taken if a team really falls in love with him. Because there is so much J.P. Lossman stink factor with Brett Hundley. It just scares me. And I'm also scared, and I've heard this from some scouts, that he is going to have issues in the locker room because he doesn't relate well to the other players. He has a little bit of entitlement. He's really smart, which doesn't always play well in locker rooms if you don't know how to carry yourself. And he could have issues with that.
You know what locker room I think would be great for him, if that's the case?
The Falcons.
No, Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay.
Maybe.
Because that's a locker room that's led by the offensive lineman. That's a Menkins. The more Menkins is like still planted himself into that locker room, the better the better the team's gelled.
I mean, I will say that I don't think Lovie Smith is a good coach for a young quarterback to have.
Oh no, Lovie Smith's awful, but Jeff Tedford's great.
That is true. Tedford's pretty good.
So if Tedford's around next year, they'll be good to go.
One player who isn't getting any hype, and it shocked me, is Blake Sims. I think Blake Sims might be a top 5 senior quarterback in this class, and nobody's talking about him. He's better than McCarron was as a prospect, and people have McCarron as
infinitely better.
One former draft person had McCarron as his top quarterback in the entire class.
Former draft person?
Someone who's not on Twitter anymore.
Shane.
You mean Sean Thefty Zobel?
No, wait, did he actually? No, I'm talking about Chris.
Chris who?
Doherty.
Oh yeah, he's weird.
He had McCarron as his top quarterback.
So did Zobel.
Where did Zobel go? I don't even know where Zobel went.
Grade on McCarron. I have a 6th round grade on Blake Sims. Is Sims better athletically? Sure. Is Sims better leadership wise? Maybe. Is Sims better with his arm? Not really. But
I
Yeah,
don't know.
well,
I see a lot more arm strength out of
AJ
Sims than
McCarron
I've
was
seen.
garbage. Like AJ McCarron was
I
garbage
think,
overall.
yeah.
I think he's got a stronger arm. I don't think he has as accurate of an arm.
See, it's funny. I'm exactly the opposite because my entire thing with McCarron was that I thought his ball placement was awful, but his arm was better than people thought it was. I think that Sims has really good ball placement. And he does have that weird windup, but as a developmental guy, backup, someone you take in round 3, like, is he any worse than Logan Thomas was coming out of Virginia Tech? I don't think so.
I wouldn't take any backup quarterback in round 3.
But Logan Thomas went in round 4. So let's say you're taking him in like early to mid round 4. Is that
I
such a
still
bad
wouldn't,
investment?
I wouldn't touch Blake Sims until round 6. I've seen too much of him failing to be super excited about him.
Who would you take higher than Blake Sims or Dr. Bo?
Who?
Dr. Bo Wallace.
Oh, okay.
He's called Dr. Bo.
That's like saying, hey Scott, would you rather have herpes or?
Oh, Dr. Bo.
I hate to say it, but I'd rather just skip and take a completely different position.
You know, I
So,
kind of think that. So in the past, we've usually seen, backup quarterbacks get drafted like 3rd, 4th, 5th, middle rounds, and honestly, I kind of think that trend is going to start to change. I mean, I think that as teams get more and more people in personnel departments and have more and more resources available to them, and they just put in more. I mean, each team's putting in more work each year overall. I just think teams are going to be more likely to find more prospects that can help their team in the immediate future as opposed to a backup quarterback who's kind of. I mean, I feel like backup quarterbacks are one of the least valuable. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, yeah, if your quarterback gets hurt, you see the importance of having a good backup. But at the same time, like, I don't think that a fan base is going to be tremendously disappointed if their team fails to really be competitive if they lose their franchise quarterback to injury. So I think that teams are going to be better off using these mid-round picks on players who could wind up as starters on a team eventually, as opposed to a guy who would just, at best, be riding the bench.
bingo.
I mean, I don't really think it's a
I don't think
trend.
anything higher than a 6th on the backup quarterback.
I don't
It
really
doesn't-
think it's a trend. I think people still, if they feel like it's necessary to take backup quarterbacks, maybe not in like round 2 or 3, but I think in the mid rounds that's the perfect time because there's no risk. Like, there's no risk to taking Zach Mettenberger in round 5.
Yeah, that's fine, but he was also taken toward the end of round 5.
Yeah, but
I view backup quarterbacks the way I view kickers. If they play 80 plays in the season, you're probably fucked up. That's the way I look at backup quarterbacks.
Maybe, but it would be nice to win some games with backup quarterbacks. And look at Austin Davis now in St. Louis. Someone to develop, someone to like get better. And I think also one sort of factor to keep an eye on that I think will only help backup quarterbacks is if there's a legitimate developmental league under the NFL. Which sounds like the FXFL wants to eventually become. That could be a really good way to sort of get quarterbacks into these pro style systems and have them learn the playbook.
I agree 100%. I mean, like, a minor league, essentially, for the NFL would not only, I mean, the NFL, let's face it, the only thing that Roger Goodell really cares about is making as much money as humanly possible. And adding a minor league would be another completely untapped market for the NFL. I mean, like,
They couldn't have content for their NFL network during the week if they did that either. You know, you could easily do it as a NFL Network Tuesday night. Would you rather watch them talk about a game or show a game?
You could have minor league football every day of the week, or 6 days a week.
Trust me, I've had that thought. And then you could have call-ups where if that minor league player played that week, he'd have to sit a week out as an inactive unless there was like multiple injuries. Like say you lose your number 1, your number 2, and your number 3 wide receiver all in the same game. You call up two guys from your minor league team, good to go. You go ahead and start playing them. Probably wouldn't want to start them because they're not going to be on the same page as your quarterback, but they'd at least be ready. I also think 53-man rosters for game days is what you should do, and have a 63-man overall roster, just in general. Completely get rid of practice squads, just have full roster members. Do you think the NFLPA would fight that?
I think the owners would.
Why would the owners fight that? Paying extra money?
Well, yeah, the money.
Well, it's also easier for them to get to their salary floor if they do that.
True, but I think that doesn't apply to every owner.
Doesn't apply to everyone, but it
And
does apply
the ones who would apply to aren't the owners with power.
We could also make things where the top 51 rule applies all year long too.
I think that rule makes more sense.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, have the top 51 rule apply all year long, or top 51 plus injured reserve. Have that apply all year long, and then have 63-man rosters. And the Browns fumbled it into the end zone.
Well, the Browns just browned in a very brown way. There's a flag, so we'll see. But anyway, quarterbacks. All right, so this quarterback class is awful. Let's move on. Running backs. This running back class is not awful. As a matter of fact, this running back class could be very, very, very good. Are they calling it a touchdown?
They're saying he crossed the line before he
God.
fumbled it.
That's the luckiest thing I think I've ever heard.
It's true. He crossed it before
He
they knocked it
did.
out.
Oh, that's unlucky for the Bengals, though.
Watch.
He did cross the line. No, I think you're right.
Crossed it,
the line.
and then he got knocked out.
Oh, you know what? I think that he did cross the line, but from that angle, let's see from this angle. From that angle, it didn't look like it would have been reversible if they had said he had fumbled before. But there, it looks like he crossed the line before, for sure.
Yeah.
So, oh well, poor Bengals. Anyway, running backs. Running backs. This is a great running back class. Everyone seems to have a favorite. I really, really like... I mean, everyone likes Gurley, so Gurley's number one. When Josh Robinson declares for this draft, because he will, he's my number 2 running back. I am madly in love with Josh Robinson. Everything that he does, I just... Oh, it's everything I want out of a running back. He can catch. He's built low to the ground. He's powerful. He has speed. He pretty much is my perfect running back. I think he's going to be a stud. What do you think, Scott, about any running back to this class?
I'm a Melvin Gordon kind of guy. My favorite running back of all time, the guy who I think is the best running back of all time, and I get a lot of flack for thinking this way, but I think the absolute best running back of all time is Terrell Davis. And to me, Melvin Gordon is just Terrell Davis Part 2. And I think his vision, his cuts, his ability to find the hole and just burst through. He's a perfect one cut and go kind of guy. I love Melvin Gordon. I would want Melvin Gordon on any team that I would have. His issue is that he can't catch. He's not a great pass blocker yet. But that's stuff that you can learn. You can work on your catching. You can develop soft hands. You can't develop the vision that he has. You can't develop the cuts. it's the same kind of stuff I saw with Terrell Davis back in the mid '90s, and I go back and I watch Terrell Davis games to be like, man, I wish we could have another one like this, because there's just I don't know, there's just something about him. And I think worst case scenario, he's like a Clinton Portis type, where he'll get 1,000 yards a year, every year, and just a regular thing.
All right, so Zach, who's your favorite back, or random one that you love?
I mean, so aside from Gurley, which it's weird as a Georgia Tech student, love having a man crush on a University of Georgia player, but I feel like everyone probably has that with Gurley. But I'm gonna have to go with Mike Davis. I mean, he's a lot of fun to watch. He's a guy who can run guys over or make guys miss. He's got pretty good vision. I mean, he's had some fumble issues in the past, but I mean, I just see pretty. I mean, he has good hands. Honestly, I think he's a 3-down back. He's okay in pass protection, but he has the physical tools to be able to be pretty good. Yeah, I think I have to go with Mike Davis.
A good choice. One other back I want to give a little bit of credence to, because I think he's going to be underrated this year by a lot of draft Twitter, is TJ Eldon. He is better this year than he was last year. He's a better running back. He's breaking more tackles. He looks a lot faster. He looks better this year than last year. That's just the game that I've watched.
His balance, the two things that I always look for in a running back, the two things that you say don't matter, are the same two things that, are why Lake Seastrunk got drafted in the 7th round and isn't in the league right now. He's on the same kind of caliber as Seastrunk with those qualities.
Yeah, but I think Seastrunk should be on a team. I think that there are other reasons there for why he's not in the league right now than just his vision.
Oh, no, I agree with that. Like, not being able to catch the ball out of the backfield.
And any number of off-field things that we just don't know about.
Well,
there's got to be something.
There's something going on there that we don't know about. That's the closest explanation I've heard for why he's not doing good things right now, because he at least had the talent to be a contributor on a team, but clearly that hasn't happened. Something's going on.
That makes a little bit more sense, because I do like him. I just hated his vision. Absolutely.
Oh, no, his vision was awful.
Yeah, that is absolutely true.
I agree with that.
Like,
any other running backs who you particularly like in this group?
I do like
are underrated.
I like Carlos Williams. I also think Cameron Artis-Payne from Auburn is extremely underrated. As that just pounding running back, I think he could be like a 3rd round, 4th round pick, that fringe range where Devontae Freeman, where a couple of other guys went this past year. He's going to contribute to a team for a long time, and he could be the primary back if they'd let him.
That's interesting, because I'm not nearly that high on him. So that's very interesting to me.
Well, Jarrett McKinnon, Terrence West.
Yeah, but Jarrett McKinnon was a physical freak of nature. Terrence West.
I'm just saying, these are guys like Devontae Freeman, Andre Williams. These are guys that could end up being their team's long-term solution at running back. All taken at the end of the 3rd, early 4th round. And I could see Artis-Payne going in that range.
The funny thing is that coming into this year, the running back from Auburn I liked more was Corey Grant. Corey Grant hasn't really done anything this year, so I don't really know what to say about that. I will say that a couple of sleepers I like, one isn't really a sleeper anymore. It's Tevin Coleman from Indiana, he reminds me of Trey Mason from this year's class. He's just really smooth and really good at everything, and I underrated Trey Mason, and I sort of consider Tevin Coleman to be my mulligan on that. So I'm hoping he gets a chance in about round 3. And then the guy from LSU, Terrence McGee, is someone who I think I'm going to end up really liking as the process goes on because he is so powerful in the lower body, and he just pushes the pile every time I see him play. He is the guy who kind of reminds me of Devontae Freeman in this group.
Oh no, I wasn't saying that Artis Payne reminded me of Freeman. I was saying that he's going to be like drafted in that range and potentially a long-term starting running back. Now, Michael Dyer is probably also going to be drafted in the same range. And if he didn't have any off-field issues, he'd be a first-round pick too.
Well, also the injury issues. I mean, like that's, those have kept him off the field for a long time. But, I mean, if he can stay healthy, I mean, what he did during his sophomore year at Auburn was fantastic.
And,
We don't have a lot of Key and Peele names this year for running backs. We've just got Dreamius Smith from West Virginia.
And Dominique Brown in Louisville as well, he's really good too. He has some fumble issues, but he is an athletic freak at running back. There are some really good backs in this class. It's a very, very good run. It might be the best running back class since 2008.
You know how I am about fumbles, though.
Yeah, but in general, even without the fumbles, even without Dominique Brown, this is a great class. Kevin Parks from UVA, impressive guy as well.
Well, no, the thing is, I like Dominique Brown. I can't stand fumbles. So unless he's willing to sleep with the ball every night, I'm not going to draft him if it's up to me.
All right, so let's move on to Scott's favorite position. Let's go to the offensive line. When do you think it's okay to take an offensive tackle in the first round? Because I'm sort of thinking that unless you're sure that this guy is going to be a franchise left tackle, there's no reason to take an offensive tackle in the top 20 picks.
I wouldn't touch an offensive lineman in the top, say, 15 picks. If he's not anything more than a right tackle or anything, if he's anything but a franchise left tackle, I don't take him in the top 20 picks, top 15 picks. Now,
Miami Dolphins say hi.
Miami Dolphins took
Juwan James.
19th overall.
Yeah.
That's forgivable, especially with
I was just giving you a hard time.
So that's why I was like, in that 15 and 20, it's got to be someone who I know is going to start day one and play lights out day one. And James has done that. I don't understand why Mike Pouncey's playing guard.
Because Satelli has been decent at center. And Billy Turner is hurt right now. He has turf toe.
What about Dallas Thomas?
I will say the one thing with Juwan James that you just got to keep an eye on is he's giving up a lot of hits to Tannehill.
Yeah, he
That's
has.
the only thing that I'm a little nervous about, but he definitely, I was critical of the pick. He surprised me. He's looked really good.
Yeah,
And I think the fact that Brandon Albert's been so good as well has been huge for that line.
He's
Definitely.
been cleaning it up a lot, though. But that's a reason why I don't like Cedric Aboye in the first round. I wouldn't take him until like 25 to 40 range. That's where I've got him in my where I would pick him.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. In terms of Dallas Thomas, he actually came in and played pretty well in this last game. He still has some tendencies to just reach a little, and but aside from that, he's made a lot of progress. John Benton is just an absolute huge difference for that offensive line. And to me, I kind of feel that if you have a top-tier offensive line coach, that you can justify taking these world beater, offensive line prospects in the first round. But if you take a guy who has great physical potential as an offensive tackle, but isn't really polished in terms of technique and just doesn't look like a sure thing, then and you don't have a guy who can coach him up properly, he's probably going to underperform. Granted, I don't know a lot about the offensive line coaches of the Jaguars or the Chiefs or
Falcons?
But or the Falcons. But
The issue with Jake Matthews hasn't been technique. It's been his ankle that he rolled in the first game of the season that he's finally healthy from.
So he was
Really
playing injured for a while.
No, he was definitely playing injured. He even said so in an interview. He's like, yeah, I've been playing injured with an ankle. And he was listed on the injury report for like 5 straight weeks with the ankle. So it's not like it was anything that anybody was hiding. He had an issue with his ankle. And then the minute his ankle gets fixed, he has a pretty solid game against Ziggy Ansah. Allowed just 1 sack and 2 pressures on like 45 pass blocks. I mean, that's a good game against a really tough opponent there.
I'm going to quickly just jump off the offensive tackle position because this segues into something that we were talking about earlier. Talking about it with Ziggy Ansah, we're talking about a lot of young offensive tackles as well. 2013 draft, looking back on it, that draft was pretty trashy. Like, if we redid it, who goes number 1 overall? It has to be Sheldon Richardson, right?
No.
It's not Eric Fisher. It's not Jekyll. It's not Lane Johnson. It's not Deion Jordan. Sorry, Zach.
No, I agree. He's clearly made mistakes. Like getting suspended twice. Yeah, you don't go number 1.
Who goes number 1?
I mean, Kansas City didn't really need defensive end for their 3-4 heading into the 13 draft. And that was just a really weird year for them. I mean, I hate to say it, and this is going to sound weird, but I think they would take Kiki Mingo in that situation.
I don't know. I think that they get their replacement for Tyson Jackson, and they take Sheldon.
Yeah, I sort of side with Zach. I would not, for the record, I would not be against a Kiki Mingo pick. But they would have Mingo, and they'd have Holly, and they'd have Justin Houston. That doesn't make any sense. Like, that's just way...
Trufant would have gone in the top 5 if they redid the draft, too.
Yeah, that's another thing I said. He would definitely go top 10.
I mean, we're saying, I think Travis Kelce goes round 1, like we've been saying for ages, what should have happened. I think that Jamie Collins would go round 1 for sure.
Tyrann Mathieu probably would have gone a lot higher.
You know, the funny thing is, I know that Scott was sort of like harping on this during draft time, and I was a little lower on him than others were. Mike Glennon might be your only first-round quarterback. I'm not sure he goes in the first round, but I at least have to think about it.
Yeah, I don't think he goes first round either, but you're right. You do absolutely have to consider it.
Because this class is bad. This class, looking back on it like this far, it just looks really bad.
I think Andre Ellington goes about the 2nd round.
No, I think he might go in the late first. I don't think you could find 32 better players in this class than Andre Ellington, even with positional value taken into account. I mean, seriously, look through the list of players. It's just not a very good list.
Jelani Jenkins would have, in a redraft, might end up in the first round.
Yeah, Jelani Jenkins would be first round. He would be top 15 picks probably.
He's been great.
He's been a top 5 weak side linebacker in the league.
I mean, Jordan Reed, outside of his concussion issues, has been pretty damn good. And the thing is, Atlanta got a really good draft in 2013 when it comes to contributors. Like, I know a lot of people talk crap about Thomas Dimitroff and his drafting, but 2 starting corners in Trufant and Alford, a starting defensive end in Malachi Goodman with the amount of snaps he plays, a starting tight end in Toilolo, and then a rotational guy in Mapanga. Ishmael shouldn't be starting, but is due to injury. You know, the only real bad pick in the entire draft for Atlanta last year was Zeke Mata, and that's just because he broke his neck as a rookie. Even he was proven to be valuable as a special teamer in reserve.
Granted, the fact that a lot of those players are starting might be a reason why Atlanta's not doing so well.
Yeah, you would say that. But, I mean, I don't think Toilolo should start.
Toilolo is so awful.
He's
I remember that we were talking about him.
Playing well. I mean, Alford's, good
Alfred
game.
hasn't been bad, right?
Game, but
He's definitely
he's been
improving.
playing well.
Yeah, he's gotten better.
Has been solid in rotation when he shows up and plays, and they actually put him in. Ishmael's been solid as an underneath safety, but when they ask him to cover deep, like he's a seventh rounder for a reason, though. Let's be honest here. He wasn't a seventh rounder because he was great at everything. He was a seventh rounder because he was good at a lot of things and good on special teams, and Atlanta drafted him for that. And Renfree's been better than T.J. Yates. I don't know why they don't just cut Yates.
So anyway, moving back, in terms of offensive linemen, who are some big uglies who you think are a little underrated? Because I actually have a name. I've been watching my offensive tackle, so I have a name.
I would say Fisher from Oregon at left tackle could easily be a top 10 pick if he was 100% healthy. I think at right tackle there's a guy at Pitt, Clemens, something like that. He's pretty good. I like him. And then there's a guy at Georgia, but I don't think he is eligible yet. Theus, who's pretty good.
I'm gonna have to go. I haven't seen a lot of him this year, but Cameron Irving to me is a guy who has all of the physical tools that you want, and I mean he's incredibly he just switched to offensive tackle from defensive tackle I think 2 years ago, or maybe it's 3, but to see what he's doing, with the very limited amount of experience he has. I mean, I see a pretty high ceiling there for him. And yeah, granted, I mean, the floor is pretty scary, but I think that he'll definitely rise up the boards by the time the draft starts. I think he'll test pretty well. He's a hell of an athlete.
I think his best situation would be as a David Stewart to a Michael Roos type. Like if a team had an established left tackle, bring in Cameron Irving in the second round, third round as a right tackle long term, and just have your bookends for a long time.
Yeah, no, I think also I got to give some credit to Zach because he was the first person I heard who brought up Reese Mukes. That guy he's really good at center from Auburn. That guy is a beast.
He's fantastic.
I think he's gonna end up being the next Jason Kelsey to me. He's so good.
I agree.
But I'm excited because I have a sleeper at offensive tackle, and if you know me, I'm not the biggest fan of scouting offensive linemen, but so that means that when I see someone who I like, that's really exciting to me. And there's a guy at Duke. His name is Tacoby Cofield. 6'4", 305, playing left tackle. Really, really good feet, and he completely manhandled some of the guys who I was watching him fight against, and he looks like a keeper to me. I was a big fan. I think that out of all the offensive tackles I've seen, he might be the most impressive one. Now, I'm not going to rank him number 1 right now because I'm still working on my rankings, to be completely honest, but he's going to get at least a late day 2 grade for me from what I've seen so far. Dude is good. He was the most impressive out of Lake and Tomlinson, out of that entire line, and they have a few good prospects. He impressed me the most.
Yeah, he definitely did a number to Georgia Tech's defensive line when I watched that game. So yeah, I agree with you. He is a very much underrated guy who will probably take quite the rise up boards come draft day. I agree.
You know they say guys play bigger than they are, and sometimes they play longer than they are. I think he's one of those guys that might be, 6'3", 305, but he's got 38-inch arms, and his legs are a little extra long, and he's got big old hands that let him do what he does because he's very good at pass blocking. He's very good at pass blocking, and he's not afraid to destroy some people. But I mean, if you're looking for a guy who I think is really going to make an impact at the next level, I think you got to look at Florida State for Joseph Matias.
Yeah, you were saying some compliments about him earlier. I saw.
He's just nasty. I love watching him play. He's got that aggression that you love to see out of a guard, he could probably play right tackle if a team really wanted him to play there in like a Kalechi Osemele kind of way. I really think he would do very well at right tackle, but I think his best fit is left guard. So, I mean, I'd love to see a team take him, use him at left guard from day one, pair him up with a solid left tackle for years, and just have those two protect their quarterback for years. Because in pass blocking, he already knows what to do as a guard. No one gets by him. The one guy I've ever seen just destroy him one-on-one is Nikita Whitlock, which I think says more about Whitlock than about Matthias.
Whitlock should have been picked by someone.
Whitlock shouldn't be a
He should get a
fullback.
chance.
He should be a defensive tackle or a defensive end. Yeah, he's tiny, but he should be somewhere with someone. Atlanta needs a pass rush. Give him a look because he's going to be better than Corey Bierman. He understands hand usage better than Bierman does, and he's been in the league longer. Bierman's been in the league longer.
So go into the defensive line then. We'll go to tackle before kicking it out to the edge. What defensive tackles thus far have sort of jumped out to you as potential guys to watch? I mean, I already said nice things about Leonard Williams, so.
Yeah, we'll go with aside from Leonard Williams.
Yeah, because this class, to me, like going into the year, I was not impressed by the defensive tackle class whatsoever. It's gotten a little bit better, but I'm not feeling it. I need to be inspired. Inspire me. Give me someone that will inspire me at this position, because thus far, Eddie Goldman looks okay. I'm not going to say it looks great, but it looks okay. Danny Shelton has a lot of sacks, but I'm not sure how much of those are just from him sort of like being in the right place at the right time. Gabe Wright underwhelmed me. Carl Davis has underwhelmed me. Christian Covington underwhelmed me. I don't even know who I would put as my number 3 defensive tackle after the top 2 right now.
Have you seen any of JT Surratt out of South Carolina?
I have not.
Or Grady Jarrett out of Clemson?
I have seen Grady Jarrett.
They're fun to watch.
I like Grady Jarrett.
I mean, Jarrett's like a poor man's Aaron Donald. He's not amazing, but he's someone who's going to be good in a rotation for years. But Surratt's that guy who can be that, block-eating nose tackle for a defense. This isn't a playmaking, ridiculously great defensive tackle class. Unless you take Mario Edwards and put him to a 3-tech, I really don't see a guy out there that's going to destroy worlds outside of Leonard Williams or Mario Williams. I don't see those eaters of worlds, those nasty interior defensive linemen in this year's class. I see a lot of guys who can eat up blocks, who can allow the guys behind them to make plays, but I don't see anything else past that. I think defensive end, you've got a lot more talent.
Yes.
Really, whether you look at it as a 3-4, 4-3, anything like that.
I will say that 2 guys in general defensive tackle who did stand out to me in a good way. One, every time I watch Carl Davis at Iowa, the Trinka Pasaka, Louis Trinka Passat, always sort of did a good job for me. I don't think he's like a first-round pick or anything, but round 6. He can do a lot worse as a rotational guy. And then the other guy was Terry Williams from East Carolina, who's a huge, huge man at 6'1", 353. I think that he could skyrocket up boards if he tests well. He's the kind of guy who, like a Linval Joseph type, who also is from East Carolina. He's good. I'm a big fan. He might end up being my top 5 defensive tackles because I'm so uninspired by everyone else.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Bennett has kind of proved that he was pretty much overhyped coming into the season.
Oh my God, Dalton.
He just, he's pretty much shown that he just really can't anchor. So I mean,
Andy Dalton's good, he's good, but when he's bad, he's garbage. He's just, oof. He might have completed more passes today to the friggin' Browns than to his own team.
That's
bad. It's one of those days.
Typical Andy Dalton.
It's one of those days.
To be fair, it's a
Now,
Jeff Triplett coach referee crew, so they probably suck.
now, in terms of edge guys, I'm gonna give a shout out to Shane Alexander, who I believe might be listening right now, but he also might not be. I'm gonna ping him and see if he is. Um, but basically, he just released his edge rankings actually. 50 players deep at
Wow.
edge. Pretty comprehensive. I guess. What do you think about this edge class in general thus far? Just quickly give me your thoughts, because there's a lot of really good dynamic players we could talk about.
All right, I'm gonna put this out there. I love the class as a whole, but I think three names are just ridiculously overhyped.
Well, here we go.
The first
Wait,
one,
before you say this, I'm gonna tweet out a link because I want people to hear you say who's overhyped.
because you know who I'm going with this.
I have no idea who you're going with this actually. All I know is that you were saying nice things about Shane Ray today, so I don't think it's Shane Ray.
Oh no, I love Shane Ray. Oh man, love Shane Ray. Love Shane Ray and love Randy Gregory. I think they're absolutely the best two edge players in this class. I mean, with Shane Ray, I think you've got a guy who could be a Justin Houston clone. And I think in Randy Gregory, you got a guy who could be an Abraham clone. Like, either way, you're getting
I
some
will
fun.
say Randy Gregory has been much better this year than last year.
You're getting some guys
Much better.
very fun to watch.
I know you're not gonna like Sean Oakman.
Oh, no, I can't stand Sean Oakman.
Yeah. Oh, he can't. We already talked about this.
Sean Oakman is Jamal Anderson Part 2.
I
Doesn't
think that
understand how to use leverage, doesn't understand how to use his hands. That's not stuff that you can really teach. It's a natural kind of feeling, and Oakman is too lanky, doesn't know how to use his body. He's just awkward. And yeah, he's this great physical potential. It's going to take you 6 or 7 years to get there. He's Marcus Hunt.
I mean it really depends on what defensive line coach you get him under, in my mind. But
All right, so
like,
that's one overrated guy. Who else is overrated?
That's one of those super overrated guys. Another one is Vic Beasley. And I like Vic Beasley. But he's like a mid-2 kind of guy. He's really not a top round guy. You know, I don't see a guy who's going to come in and destroy worlds and be that big monster that he could be. Like, I just see a mediocre, like, all-around player who's a good pass rusher. I see, you know, Robert Mathis Part 2 with him. I think that's the... I mean, that's not
I would
saying...
be fine with that, to be honest.
What?
I would be fine with that, to be honest.
Yeah, but it took Robert Mathis like 8 years to even come close to what he was as a 10 sack, 12 sack, 15 sack guy. It took him a long time to get there. But if you really wanted a guy who I think is just extremely underwhelming, and I'm probably not going to give him anything higher than a 5th round grade, Howie Loie Kikaha. Just slow. Just ridiculously slow off the ball. I might be faster than him.
I haven't really seen anyone
And
talk him up that highly.
For the slowest.
No, he's getting talked up by a lot of people.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there are some people who have first-round grades on him.
everybody. I don't understand it. I don't see it. He's Jarvis Jones Part 2. He's just... And I missed on Jarvis Jones. I swung and whipped on Jarvis Jones. All instincts mattered more than anything else. Sometimes you got to have some good speed off the ball.
So what you're saying is he is not math rushers.
Not anywhere close. I'll put it that way. I think a guy that people need to watch out for is Trey Flowers out of Arkansas. I think that's a guy that's going to have some fun in the NFL. That's a guy that's going to eat when he gets to the NFL.
I think the guy
out of Mississippi State.
Preston Brown.
No, Preston Smith out of Mississippi State. Preston Brown's the linebacker for the Bills.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I got him mixed up because there's Preston Smith and there's Richie Brown. and I like both of them. Richie Brown is the linebacker from Mississippi State. I think he's a sophomore.
And then C.J. Johnson out of Mississippi's been having a solid year.
He's really good, but he's really one-dimensional. He's awesome off the ball, though. I'm a big fan, but he's so one-dimensional. Here's my thing with Kikaha. My thing with Kikaha is, I'll be honest, I did not like him coming into this year at all. I thought he was really slow. His tape this year is better, but he's still 245 pounds, and he's not the best. He wins with power. So what power rushers in the NFL are 245 pounds? I can't think of any.
Yeah, I mean, I can't either. That's the thing.
I
'Cause when I think of power rushers, I think of like Sheldon Richardson. Basically, when I think of power rushers, I go straight to the Jets. You know, Quentin Coples off the edge, Sheldon Richardson off the edge, Muhammad Wilkerson off the edge. That's kind of what I think more than anything else.
And I think I'm just sort of picky with my rushers. I mean, I'm just really, really picky at times. Probably in terms of draft eligible players, my top guy in this class is Dante Fowler. I think he's an Anthony Barr clone. I think
he's better than Barr.
He's really good.
He's not
He takes over games by himself.
Players.
Yeah, I think they are in the way that I think that Fowler's who Barr could be if they just let Barr go forward. They're using him in Minnesota as Barr is being used as more a traditional linebacker and doing an amazing job at that, by the way.
Yeah, I don't see Fowler as being able to do that.
I think
Fowler's
that
more comparable to a guy like Cam Wake.
I could see that.
You think that Fowler what?
I could see that.
You think that Fowler is Cam Wake essentially?
That's like his ceiling.
Or yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, I'm not saying. I'm talking ceilings here. Fowler's
Yeah. No, I gotcha.
Cam Wake.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Same build, longer than normal arms. He's gonna time out of his skull at the combine.
The shoulder dip is very
it's so nice.
Yeah, the edge dip off. Yeah, the shoulder dip off the edge. I would love to see a pass rush that somehow had Fowler and Wake on it together, or Fowler and say Justin Houston, or like a Fowler and J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney kind of combination.
Oh, if that ever happened.
I mean, that's
that
would be unfair.
R.I.P.
Crick. I like Crick.
He's been awesome this year whenever I watched him.
So, I mean, I think that would be just a really fun combination to watch in Houston. I mean, if they're going to go based off of, hey, let's just attack everybody with our defense, you go, DJ Fowler in the first round, you're good to go.
So, Zach, who's another defensive end or edge player that you like?
I got to go with Shane Ray. I mean, this guy is just an absolute freak to watch week in and week out. I mean, he's just so smooth. He looks like he's not even trying out there. I mean, his ankle and knee flexibility is fantastic. I mean, this guy can get under anybody. I mean, he has pretty good hand usage already, considering the fact that he's a redshirt junior, isn't he?
Yeah.
But I mean, he's got pretty good hands for most college defensive ends. I feel don't really use their hands all that well. So he's at least average there. And I mean, the athletic tools are amazing. And actually, I think he's when I think about it, I think he's only about 250 pounds. So, and he actually has a decent bull rush.
He's got a great bull rush.
My biggest issue with him is that he, at least last year, he was awful against the run.
Yeah.
Really, really, really bad.
I mean, he didn't know how to set the edge.
Up a lot this year.
But it's funny because I don't think he's that different from Vic Beasley. I think that they're pretty similar, and I think both of them are probably mid to late firsts. Probably. I mean, I think Fowler's above him. I think that Gregory probably is going to be either above them or at that range. I think that Ray Drew could be above them too. Out of the Georgia guys, I like Leonard Floyd and I like Jordan Jenkins, but Drew is the guy who I think might be the best of the three. But otherwise, I mean, this is just such a deep group. I will give one shout out though
Who is
to
Patrick Kearney?
the guy who I think might be the best edge player who only I and a few other members of Draft Twitter talk about, who is not eligible for this draft, but he will take over the world soon enough, and that's Max Vallis out of Virginia, who I'm starting this bandwagon. I've been riding it hard. Eli Harold, by the way, his teammate, is really good. He might be the same caliber as Shane Ray. It wouldn't shock me. Oh, that was an amazing catch by AJ Green. It wouldn't shock me if Eli Harold goes in the high second round in the draft. He's just going to time really well. But Max Vallis is basically what Deion Jordan could have been if Deion Jordan actually didn't do drugs. He's really good. He plays everything well. He has amazing coverage ability. He can rush the passer. He has multiple pass rush moves. He can play the run. He can literally do everything you need out of an edge guy. And I think that in a year or so he's going to be a top 5 or 10 pick. And I'm very excited to see him develop because he's really, really good. And I know that Shane Alexander, who is listening, will agree with me.
I haven't
I
seen.
can get on board with that.
I'm gonna pass on the judgment on this.
So, I guess we can move on. We can go to the linebacker position, off-ball linebacker. I think again, really deep off-ball linebacker class. Gets a lot better when you factor in all of the underclassmen, and one of these guys I think is better as an edge rusher, and that's Bernard McKinney. I think that he could be Khalil Mack if they played him on the edge.
I'll agree with that because I don't like him as an inside linebacker. I honestly think the best inside linebacker in this class is Denzel Perryman. He's just fun to watch. He reminds me of a London Fletcher style linebacker. He may not be the biggest, he may not be the strongest, may not be the fastest, but he's the smartest guy on the field. He's got great instincts. He's quick enough to take that middle of the field away. And he just understands how to motivate the guys around him to play at their best. Perriman's a leader. If I'm running a defense and I've got a mid-second round pick, I'm sitting there and I'm banging the crap out of the table going, get me this guy for my defense. Even if I've got Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman on my defense, I'm banging the table for Denzel Perryman. I really like how he plays.
You know, that's big.
He goes up to hit. He doesn't go up to hug. You know, he goes in to destroy people. And that's what I like about A.J. Johnson, too. I just don't think A.J. Johnson's got the athleticism to be a great inside linebacker, at the next level. And then a name that nobody is mentioning at all out of Clemson is Stephon Anthony.
I think he sucks.
Probably the best inside linebacker in the entire class, outside of Perriman.
Wow.
I'm going to be honest. I think that's fun that Anthony kind of sucks. I wasn't a fan of him at all. When I watched him, I thought he was reactionary. I thought he didn't look that athletic to me.
That's unfortunately.
I think that I'm just not sold. I mean, I look at a guy like Norkeith Otis out of North Carolina. I think he's better than Stephon Anthony. Even though it turns out today that there was some talk that people are underwhelmed by Otis, I think that he's better. I think Dawson from TCU, I'm a huge fan of his. I think that he's somebody who reminds me of Gerard Mayo coming to the next level. I think Shaq Thompson is somebody who, if he declares, he's a top 15 pick for sure.
Oh yeah, no, that's no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are 6 linebackers that are kind of above the class if they all declare. I tweeted it out earlier, and it's Thompson, Dawson, the three that we talked about, and I don't even remember all the linebackers, but there are six. That's sort of Kendricks from UCLA is on that list. There are some linebackers who sort of
Raheem
are above
Wilson.
the rest of the pack.
You know
Who?
who's not getting a lot of mention but should? Quayshawn Neely out of Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've watched him have some really bad moments this year, but he's also, I mean, had some great ones as well. It just, it's frustrating to watch because, I mean, he goes out there and he just plays absolutely lights out sometimes, and then other times we'll just take like mind-blowingly bad angles or just like miss easy tackles. But yeah, he's definitely had some fantastic moments this year, and if he can play consistently, like it would be huge for him moving forward.
I know that some sleepers people seem to like um, are Chichi Araguzo from Northwestern. I've watched him a few times. I kind of like him. He's pretty powerful for a smaller guy. And then also Tank Jigs from Memphis. I know that's a Jinx favorite. So that's someone else to keep an eye on. He's a great name too, Tank Jakes. But I guess I'll also follow up. I mean, Eric Stryker is an undersized linebacker. He's really productive, but where does he play at the next level?
I don't know. I kind of feel the same way about Michael Arakpo.
I another guy I don't think is very good.
Yeah, but he's a ridiculous athlete. I think as a weak side linebacker in a Tampa 2, you develop him a little bit, but I think as a weak side linebacker in Tampa 2, he could at least be competent as a starter. At least NFL average as a starter. And a little bit of fun to watch. So, I mean, I like Arakpo. And he'd be very low investment. Probably a 6th round, 7th round pick. For a guy who's going to give you a speedster, a Coy Wire type, if you will. Long time, special teamer who's going to be depth, who's going to be able to play coverage. Because that's where he really does well, is he does really well in coverage underneath. And I think he'd be a good fit as like that tight end stopper that teams are looking for.
That is true. I will say one edge guy who I kind of think is underrated. He's underrated because no one's talking about him. My only UConn mention of the night, other than maybe Byron Jones later, is Reuben Frank. He's a converted running back. He's 6'4", 250. He's playing defensive end now, playing off the edge, and he has amazing bend, Shane Ray type bend. He's someone to watch out for. I think that he sticks on a team if he gets a chance, for sure. So let's move to cornerbacks, because news broke today about Marcus Peters not being in the he is not going to be on the team anymore. He's kicked off, right? Got kicked off of Washington.
Oh wow!
So what do we think about that? Because I saw people like hyping him up way too much. I think that people need to calm down.
Who is this?
Marcus Peters.
Do you know, have there been any like rumors as to why he got kicked off the team?
I have no idea.
Wow.
I don't think I ever played. I haven't seen Washington all year.
Wow. I mean, I have only seen one game, and I like the physical tools, and I like the recognition from him, but I mean, his just technique is just kind of raw in my mind. I don't know. I think he's a bit more of a project than people think he is.
Peters?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest, I think that people are hyping up the wrong cornerbacks in this class. Because Marcus Peters and Trey Waynes, they're okay. I think they're second-round picks. I don't think they're first-rounders. Marcus Peters is really, really good at press. He reminds me of Parrish Cox.
So who are your best corners?
I think Senquist, if he was 5'10", would be a top 5 pick. He is really good. He's not going to be a top 5 pick. He's going to end up getting picked a lot later than he should, but he's really good. I think Eric Rowe from Utah is also really good.
What
I
are your
think
thoughts on
Ladarius Gunter
Jack?
from Miami is really good. I think Bernard Blake from Colorado State is really good. Now,
What
do I
about
think any of them are first-round picks? I think that Golson, I would have a Jason Verrett grade on him. I have a late first on him. Otherwise, probably would not have any of them in the first round, other than maybe Efo. But Efo has also not looked as good this year. So
who
I
do
think
you
that
think
the
is the
depth is
best
there,
Oklahoma
though.
State guys?
I like PJ.
I like
I'll be
both of
honest,
them.
I haven't seen enough of all of them to judge completely because I don't like watching ACC games unless I have to. So I need to watch more of them. From what I've seen, Jalen Ramsey's the most talented cornerback on that team. And then it would be PJ, then it would be Darby. But again, I need to see more. All I know is that from what I've seen, Senquez Golson's as good a prospect as I saw at any cornerback last year. But the fact that he's short is going to downgrade him, so I can't upgrade him too much because of that.
Jalen
Because
Ramsey's also a sophomore.
I know he's not eligible. Um, One guy who I think is a sleeper who people aren't talking about is Julian Wilson from Oklahoma. I think he's very good, and I think that he could go higher than people expect. But I kind of disagree with the thought a class of like this isn't a great cornerback class. I think that it might be similar to I believe it was 2013 when there just ended up being a lot of depth, but not a ton of top tier talent. Because
Even
there
though,
is a lot of talent there, it just might not go in round one.
see, for me, that's how I feel about the safety class. I don't think there's any basically top 2 round guys. But I think there's a lot of depth, a lot of mid-round picks, a lot of guys who could be, solid starters if they got some time on the field.
What
Got
do
some
you
time with
think?
a
What
good
do you think
coach.
of Landon Collins? Because I'm not 100% sold on him.
I love Landon Collins in concept, but the last 3 games I've watched him play, I've just been like, man, you're making so many stupid errors, dude. Fix your shit.
I
Like
know,
you're
I know that feel.
shitty.
I mean, I think. See, that's my thing with a lot of these safeties. For me, the top safety in this class is Duron Smith from Fresno State.
Wow.
He's a mid 2 at best.
And I think he's a late one. I think he's Weddle. That's sort of my comparison for him. My issue is Curtis Drummond's underwhelmed me this year. I came into the year watching him and not knowing if he was slow or if he just made it look easy because he's such a smooth athlete, and I think the fact is that he's slow. And Cody Pruitt just takes some horrible angles. He reminds me of Taylor Mays. I think he's going to be a bust in the NFL. I'm not a fan at all. But Smith has great range. I think that in the right defense, if used correctly, is going to be killer. Um, I think that he's the kind of guy who NFL teams are going to like a lot more than a lot of draft people might like because they see a low projection in him. But I think he's ever been the athlete that say Eric Reed was coming out of LSU.
Wait, so Cody Pruitt is Taylor Mays means that you think he should play linebacker. I haven't seen enough of Pruitt to be like, oh my god, he's amazing at anything. But I could see him as a solid linebacker switch.
You know what? I could see that. Why not? Play him at
Because I
linebacker.
thought Taylor Mays should have played linebacker.
I mean, and then you look at the strong safeties. I think Anthony Harris kind of sucks. I think he's James Sanders, who we both know kind of sucks. He was a solid third safety, but
Kind of sucks.
he was a solid third safety.
Kind of sucks.
Um,
He's the solid third safety if you never use a third safety on the field, except for that 5 seconds to go. Other team at the 50-yard line. You need to throw him
Put
out there.
everyone in the end zone. Yeah.
I
You
think
know,
that there
that's
are a couple of strong safeties who could get moved up. Jaquiski Tart from Samford, someone who not a lot of people know yet, but he's going to go, I believe, late day 2. I think he might get into the third round. And Sam Carter from TCU has impressed me. I watched.
I feel like we've ignored a position so far.
I don't think we have. Well, we skipped wide receiver.
And tight end. Yeah.
We did. Well, all the tight ends this year are awful.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a really bad tight end class.
This is not a tight end class. This is an H-back class. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah, that's fair.
So let's go back to the H-back class then. Who do you like in it?
All right. So you've got one H-back from Florida State. Dude, Florida State, I feel like half their roster is going to get drafted this year.
Nick O'Leary.
But Nick O'Leary, I really like. Ben Koyak, I like as an inline blocker, but I'm not seeing a receiver out of him. Like, Ben Koyak's best case scenario to me is a Jason Witten. If he is lucky and gets the right quarterback and magically turns into a I think Gerald Christian might be the best tight end out of the entire group out of Louisville. He's fun to watch. He's just more of that move tight end though. And no, I'm not listing Funchess as a tight end because he's not a tight end.
He's a damn good wide receiver.
Funchess is a Calvin Johnson sized, more of a Marcus Colston speed wide receiver.
And we'll get to them, but we're gonna stick with let's stick with H-backs for a second. Anyone who you particularly like, Zach?
Honestly, I was pretty excited to watch more of Jake McGee this year, and I was really sad when he got hurt because he definitely showed some good things at Virginia. I mean, he definitely was a great option down the seam, and just like did well in traffic. Was a good inline blocker, but I mean, after this injury, it's tough to know what's going to happen with him, or if he'll even get a shot somewhere.
Yeah, I think this tight end class sucks.
Yeah, it's not.
To be honest, I mean, Kevon Cartwright, I was so excited coming into the year, and then he's been injured and hasn't really done a lot. Still think that if he ends up on a team, he could do something. I like Arneson from Wisconsin a lot.
Cartwright's not going to declare.
Who?
Cartwright's not going to declare.
Is he? He's a senior.
No, he's not. If he is, he's able to take a redshirt this year for injury.
Well, I hope he does.
That's for him
because he's better than he's been.
He's
injured.
a redshirt senior.
Well, I think he's trying to get a 6 year of eligibility. He's not a.
Well, I hope he gets it because he's good and he deserves a chance. But we'll see.
Because he went out early enough in the year to where he could take it.
But then the other one who I like Arneson from Wisconsin. I guess EJ Bibbs isn't bad. Tyler Croft's not bad. But I wouldn't take any tight end before, say, the third round of the draft. At least not that I've seen so far. I'm going to have to rewatch. But wide receiver, on the other hand, totally different story. It's a good class.
The thing with tight end, if a couple of these guys actually declared, it'd be fun. Like if Pharaoh Brown declared, I could see him being the top tight end and being in a mid-2 range. If Tyler Croft from Rutgers declared, it'd be fun. If Jay Rome from Georgia declared, it'd be fun because these guys are actually pretty good. But
they're not going to declare, I don't think.
They're probably not going to declare because they're tight ends. And tight ends, for whatever reason, unless your name is Travis Kelce, don't declare.
Travis Kelce. I mean, I think it would be great if Jesse James declared, but he's sort of fallen out of favor for a lot of people. I'm still a fan, but...
So wide receiver, there's one name that I think is a bit overrated and one name that I think is a bit underrated.
All right, go for it.
So, overrated, a lot of people like to bring up a tight end out of Auburn named Sammy Coates. And while he's fun to watch, I don't think he's anything more than a mid-2.
I don't think people think he's good anymore.
Well, I kept seeing it. So if people aren't thinking that he's good anymore, thank God. The other, actually, a second overrated name is Ty Montgomery. Again, Michael Jenkins. I don't know what it is with these Michael Jenkins-y tight ends people seem to love, but I
He's
don't.
faster than Michael Jenkins was, though, at Ohio State. I don't buy that. I think that Ty Montgomery...
Possession receivers. That's all they are. They're a
Ty
fucking
Montgomery is
linebacker.
so good in the open field, though. He's better in the open field than Michael Jenkins was. Like, I think Ty Montgomery's the kind of guy who you have to use him as... And to be fair, I have dropped him a little bit in my rankings because other guys have sort of stepped up. But I think that if you use Ty Montgomery correctly as a big slot, he could be deadly at the NFL level. Because he's so good after the catch. Like, there's definitely... Heck, you know what? If there was one guy in this draft class who I could see becoming the next Anquan Bolden, it would be Ty Montgomery.
Now I could see that.
I could see Ty Montgomery just sort of like
That's just
completely and totally
The awareness,
buying
body
into
control,
himself
and just like
and becoming the next Anquan Bolden. Now, granted, I don't know if he'd be my top 5 receivers in this class right now. He might be 5. Because I think right now there are 4 who are sort of above everyone else for me. But,
for me,
yeah.
that guy is the underrated guy is Brashad Perriman.
I can get behind that.
He's not just the school that he went to or his build, but he is a lot of Brandon Marshall type play. A
I will
lot
say
of
that
this game.
I watched him last week against UConn, and he had a really bad game. So my opinions of him are very... I need to rewatch him again because I watched that game, and I was like, wow, he was awful. He had a really bad game against UConn.
He had a
But
bad game, but his quarterback didn't exactly have a great one either. He looked much better with the NFL caliber quarterback than with whoever the hell they're trotting out there now.
I like Holman. I think Holman, if he learns, he could get really good. But he needs a lot of time, a lot of work. I mean, yeah, I guess in this wide receiver class, one guy who's off my board, to be honest, is Dorial Green Beckham. All the talent in the world, I would not take him on my team. He is a basket case.
yep, I'm with you
So
100%.
I would he will not be on any of my draft boards this year.
And there are people out there who think that he has a legit shot of going in the first round still.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't see how. Like, with the way this season has happened, to think that he has a chance of going in the first round is just one of the most naive projections I've ever heard.
Now, one guy who I think is very underrated right now is Philip Dorsett out of Miami. I think that in the right system, the dude's T.Y. Hilton. He's John Brown. He is a burner with awesome ability. And he's shown me multiple times that he could be a really, really good third option in the NFL, maybe even a second option, maybe even a T.Y. Hilton type first option with the right quarterback. I think I have a third round grade on him right now. I don't think that's going to change very much unless something drastic happens.
So a name that I have similar thoughts about is Tyler Lockett.
I like him too.
I don't
I'm a
understand
fan.
why he's not being talked about.
I think it might be because his hands are a little questionable, but otherwise, I mean, he has talent. I have Dorsett a little bit higher. I just think Dorsett's faster, but Lockett is going to make an impact at the next level for sure. There are a lot of receivers like that in this class.
In my mind, the guy who nobody is talking about at wide receiver, who definitely deserves to be getting some hype, has to be DeAndre Smelter out of Georgia Tech.
Now, I was actually going to ask you about him because I'm hearing a lot of really good things about DeAndre Smelter. And I want to hear sort of what your perspective is on him.
I mean, this is a guy who is working with a guy who really doesn't know how to play quarterback and is essentially creating everything for himself. I mean, Justin Thomas's ball placement is consistently just erratic. And I mean, he's a great hands catcher. He's constantly making plays where I'm thinking, dang, like that most receivers would not have.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. Hell is just frozen over. The Cleveland Browns lead the AFC North.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Sorry. Back to our regular scheduled programming.
But yeah, Smelter. I mean, he's a hell of an athlete. He can burn. I mean, I'd expect him to run like a sub 4.5 at worst. I mean, he like works back to the football really well. He understands how to beat press coverage. And I mean, obviously, this point doesn't really matter. But he is a lot of fun to watch blocking cornerbacks. I mean, this guy just like fucking destroys guys. I mean, he has all of the tools to, be a number one receiver in the NFL, and I think that he's definitely going to move up the boards a lot as we get closer to draft day.
I mean, looking through these receivers, though, there are so many good ones. And by the way, I'm guessing you're not a fan of Darren Waller then, right?
I mean, I like him, but he just has too many. He has some hands issues, and I mean, he's a smart guy, but I mean, his route running is pretty sloppy. He has a lot of work to do. To me, like he's, I think that he will wind up at worst case scenario on a practice squad somewhere because of his physical tools, but he's still very raw.
I think a team should take him and move him to tight end.
That's also true. I can see that.
Because he's massive as a wide receiver, and he's not exactly the fastest receiver out there. And honestly, I just don't think he's that good as a wide receiver because he's not quick enough in and out of breaks. You can get away with that against linebackers. You can't get away with that against corners.
Yeah, I agree with you there. No doubt.
It's crazy, though. The receiving depth in this class is absurd. I mean, you look at, like, random guys, like, who probably might not even be drafted. I mean, guys like Cason Williams, who last year people had as a first-round pick, potentially. Mario Alford, who's really, really good at West Virginia. He can blaze. You got guys like Jeremy Davis, who I'm a big fan of. Cam Worthy from East Carolina. Devin Smith from Ohio State. I think he's the best receiver Ohio State's had since Ted Ginn. He's really good as well. You got guys like Christian Jones out of Alabama, who's just like a general like hustle guy. There are so many good players in this class that it wouldn't shock me if every single team in the NFL next year didn't have one receiver from this draft class on their roster. And I'm talking about 53-man. Because this draft class is just stacked with value at receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think I've ever seen a class with so many potential number one receivers.
There's just so many good players in this class. It's absurd. It might be like at the top, I mean, first round picks, there might be 3 or 4, maybe 5. And actually, I was going to ask sort of like end off the night, like name your top 5 receivers in this class, which we'll do in a second. But there's so much depth. It's crazy. So to end it off, I guess, top 5 receivers in this class, including all sort of like possible declarations. Who would you have?
I'll go first. Kevin White, number 1. Amari Cooper, number 1A. Because they're just both monsters. I'd have... I'm not going to go Funches. I'm going to go Funches 5. But Devontae Parker, 3. Jalen Strong from Arizona State, 4. And then Funches, 5.
Okay. Zach?
I'm going to have to go Amari Cooper, 1. Devontae Parker, 2. Kevin White, 3. Devin punches 4, and then I'm putting Smelter 5.
I like that. I like Smelter at 5. And
I
I
probably
honestly
would
have.
Smelter closer to like 8 or 9 because I want to see him in a pro style scheme. But again, he's going to be fun to watch. I want to see him at the Senior Bowl. That's what I
Which
really.
hopefully we're going to go to. That's my plan.
Yeah, Smelter definitely needs a Senior Bowl invite. That is incredibly important for him to have.
I mean, I got to say, I have a top 4, and then after that, my 5 spot could go to any one of about 30 guys. It's that sort of like deep right now in this group. But I got to go Devin Funches 1. I love his footwork. I think his footwork is incredible for a guy his size. It's the closest thing to, dare I say, Aaron Hernandez's footwork that I've seen since Hernandez went to jail. So I'm going to go Funches number 1, Devontae Parker number 2, Mari Cooper number 3, Kevin White number 4, and number 5, I'm very tempted to say Ty Montgomery because I'm still a huge fan of his, but I just can't bring myself to do it. I got to go with my guy Tony Lippett because I think that he might rise up boards really quickly as the season goes on. I mean, but honestly, number 5 could go to any one of like 20 guys. 20
You're
guys.
absolutely right. I mean,
It's so deep.
Guys. It's crazy.
So, and we didn't even talk about Rashad Green, who I think is really overrated.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah, it's ridiculous to think about. It's just getting better and better every year. The depth is just constantly increasing.
so anyway, there might be 40 draftable wide receivers this year.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and I mean the way the NFL has evolved over the past few years, it's certainly wouldn't be surprised to see. At least it wouldn't be a surprise to see 30 guys getting out to the receiver.
Yeah. So anyway, this has been fun. We will do this again soon. Maybe we'll do this like every other week or something like that. We'll like set up a time and just say every other week.
I agree. We definitely need to.
But yeah, we will do this again soon. This was fun. Have a great night. Keep on watching the draft. Keep on watching games. If you have any questions, hit us up on Twitter and we'll answer them. So, see ya. Bye.